And finally tonight, bake the damn cake. That's what we keep hearing, right? If you're a baker, or as we mentioned yesterday with the Supreme Court arguments, a website designer, and because of your own personal religious beliefs, you feel that you shouldn't be compelled to participate in a same-sex marriage ceremony, that you should just bake the damn cake. Well, imagine the irony. An organization out of Richmond, Virginia, Family Foundation of Virginia in particular, they were kicked out of a restaurant because of their religious beliefs. They were kicked out by LGBTQ restaurant employees. Victoria Cobb was there, and she's telling her story. Did I get that right? Was it the ownership, the management, the employees? Victoria, thanks for coming on to tell your story.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it was the owner that made the phone call, and they have issued an official statement from the restaurant. So they're officially standing by this idea that they are going to have whether it's a religious litmus test, a political litmus test. I mean, essentially, they have decided that we're going to decide who eats here and who doesn't based on what they believe.
So your organization, you were having some sort of lunch there, and the whole group was there, and they decided, did they kick you out before you got there and just canceled on you, or did you actually show up?
Yeah, I think they wanted to make sure that they didn't actually admit that this is what they were doing in front of customers. So about an hour and a half before an event that had been scheduled for several weeks, a private dining room event that we had reserved with them, they called and said, we're going to cancel your event. And when questioned, it was because somebody had looked us up. And if you go to our website at familyfoundation.org, you are going to find pretty quickly that we're a faith-based organization. And then secondarily, you're going to find out that we hold traditional views on marriage and that we're pro-life. And they decided that that was enough and they weren't going to serve us.
So, I mean, let's square this circle. Your organization supports the website designer in Colorado who doesn't want to feel compelled by the government to create a web design for a same-sex marriage. Given that position, should this restaurant have the right to kick you out?
Yeah, so the distinction between folks like Jack the Baker and Lori Smith, who was the case at the Supreme Court this week, is that when you're in business and your product is actually speech, it's actually messaging, it's actually being asked to be a part of a same-sex wedding, which is the case in both of those cases, that's a little different than simply food service. I don't actually know a religious organization, entity, belief system that believes that you shouldn't serve food to everyone. So in the case of Jack and Lori, they're simply saying our faith is not allowing us to be part of a same-sex wedding celebration versus simply, offering a commodity, a widget, a piece of food in this case.
Public accommodation. This is like a blacks-only lunch counter or whites-only lunch counter or what have you. That's exactly what this is. So have the local authorities been called about this? Has this restaurant received any sort of backlash? Are you going to be instituting any sort of legal action?
Well, we're certainly looking at all of our options. And of course, the folks like the Attorney General can decide what they want to do about it as well. We just really believe that there are some things that we'd like to see our faith and our politics not divide us on. I don't think there's anyone who wants to see restaurants be divided by people of faith and not people of faith, or people that hold traditional views and not people who hold traditional views. That's not the America we want to live in. And I think it is shameful. And they cloaked their statement in many words of welcome and tolerance, and yet their actions were very intolerant.
Yeah, it is amazing how the tolerant crowd is so intolerant. But they're standing in the door and saying your kind isn't welcome here. And again, it's very important to draw a distinction here between a public accommodation like a restaurant, where all should be welcome despite their religious views or their sexual orientation, versus these cases that we've been discussing where it's an artist. The artist is being compelled to create art against their will. It's a wholly different situation.
Yeah, we really do believe that speech needs to uniquely be protected, that the artwork is creative speech. The courts have been very clear on that over the years, and that really has to have very strong protections. That's the core of our democracy. The moment that we tell people that we're going to force them to sell their speech, we've kind of given up the heart of the American soul, that we don't want to see that happen.
Family Foundation of Virginia is the group that got excised from this restaurant. What's the name of the restaurant again?
It's called Metzger's Bar and Butchery. We're getting that question a lot because people don't want to go there anymore. So they've isolated a large swath of customers who are going to say, I don't want to be judged when I show up at the door.
That's right. Anybody of faith who takes their faith seriously, your kind is not welcome at Metzger's. You should let them know that you won't be dining there per their request. Ms. Hobbs, thank you
Yes.
so much. Ms. Cobb, excuse me. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
That's Victoria Cobb, Family Foundation of Virginia. And that's it for us tonight. But we'll be back same time, same place tomorrow. In the meantime, you know where to find me. I'll see you on the radio.